Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Tuesday?
I'm good. I was very happy with the weekend results. We're going to go over them. I was 12-3 in the straight-up picks, and I actually had a positive record on the spreads, too. So it was a great week for me, and I'm happy to talk about the games and the results. It was a fun weekend to watch football.
I'll say this. You are beating me pretty handily in the win-loss this year. We had another winning week, so I'll take my wins as they come. We got a lot to talk about today because this week it showed a lot. Now we're getting into the who are frauds, who are for real. I don't think there's many more question marks about is this team good, is this team bad. There's a lot of answers. And now the question is, who's going to keep their job? Which I think the first surprise one I would say, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, I do think Brian Daboll is going to keep his job because the Jackson Dart move this early completely saved it, in my opinion. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. Based on what you told me after that Giants game, we're gonna have
a lot to say.
A good discussion about that.
I got a lot to say about that game.
Absolutely,
I can't wait to get to it.
It might get heated. Who knows? But this one, to talk about getting heated, I am definitely on fire about this one because the one team I said that could not lose ended up losing. Not only did they lose, this was arguably one of the ugliest losses we have seen to date, and we have to remember. This was the same team led by the same head coach and the same quarterback who beat the Broncos a couple years ago 70-20. And now you have head coach Mike McDaniel in the postgame speaking about this.
There's a lot of guys that will have an important work week because we're not, I mean, if you are negatively affecting the football team routinely, I don't have a choice but to assess a different player, and I have to coach a lot better as well. So we need, we're going to find out who and what we're made of.
And then he decided to backtrack a little bit on that because he realized Quinn Ewers is the backup quarterback. And now he did have 5 completions for over 50 yards, but this is what he said, not the post-game press conference, but the day after in the normal media press conference. Take a listen.
Yeah, he's going to take the snaps this week, and he's going to be our starter this week, and my expectation is that we don't throw 10 picks.
So now we have a team that was dealing with the leadership issue. The head coach is now calling out the quarterback after the quarterback called out his own team. There is no leadership anywhere. And even after that, because remember, to his comments about lack of leadership, he does wear the C on his chest, so that was kind of ironic. In week 7, Tua, second lowest passing yards, tied for the most interceptions with Spencer Rattler, the worst passer rating, the second worst yards per attempt, the worst EPA per dropback, and had a QBR of 0 to 100 of 3.3 behind Geno Smith, who went, 6 of 10 or something, 10 of 16 for 60-something yards, had a lower QBR than Geno Smith. The offense, the runs, they got stuffed on 45.5% of their runs. They had the third lowest EPA per rush, second worst rushing success percentage, and 26th in yards per play. Tua was pressured on only a quarter of his dropbacks, which was the 4th best rate of week 7. And he had the worst passer rating while pressured. He looked scared. He couldn't complete passes. His interceptions were inexcusable. These were the 3 of them. I mean, first of all, this one is a check down. He overthrew a check down, and it got housed. First play of the second half, I might add. This one, you get pressured, late pressure, and then you end up throwing a really bad interception. Again, in triple coverage, nobody's open. And this one, you had all day to throw, and you threw a very, very ugly interception that, had a chance of going, if there were a little bit more blockers there. But ultimately, all of these were really, really ugly. 7 of Tua's tied league-leading 10 interceptions, 7 of them have come from a clean pocket, a.k.a. when he's not pressured. The defense did its job. Now, the score was 31 points, but that's because you had about 30 yards to work with if you're the Cleveland Browns offense. The defense did a job. Second fewest yards allowed in week 7, 6th fewest yards per play allowed, and 12th in EPA per play allowed. So better than 2/3 of the league. The defense was okay. It was perfectly fine. The offense was so bad. Led by Mike McDaniel in his gold aviator shades. This is the worst offensive expected points since 2019 for the Dolphins on offense. Since 2019, week 2. And if some of you remember that game, that was Patriots-Dolphins. Patriots won 43-0. That was the Tom Brady AB game. Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen each had an interception or 3. Ryan Fitzpatrick. This is an ugly game through and through. And my shock is that Schefter went on to NFL Live to say that, quote, the Miami front office is not planning any changes anytime soon. Huh? You lost to arguably the worst team in the NFL with a rookie quarterback who does not play very well, behind an entire offense that isn't great. Here's the crazy thing. They snapped an 11-game streak of scoring 17 points or fewer. It's the longest streak since 2000. The last time they scored more than 17 was December 2nd of last year, where they lost 41-32 to the Denver Broncos. This team is not built well. Chris Grier needs to go. Mike McDaniel should have been gone at the end of this week. Tua should have been at least benched. I mean, think about it. Their offensive line is absolutely abysmal. Patrick Pohl is the worst run-blocking left tackle in the NFL. He's 47th out of 77 qualified tackles. Their left guard, I can't pronounce his last name, Jonah Savaiinaia, if I'm pronouncing that name right at all. He's the worst guard in the NFL and the worst pass-blocking guard in the NFL. Aaron Brewer's 25th out of 34 centers in pass blocking. Cole Strange is 72nd out of 79 qualified guards. And Larry Broom, their right tackle, is 72nd out of 78 in run blocking and 60 out of 77 total. There's nothing that the Dolphins do right. This was a game where you needed to turn around the narrative. Look what the Lions just did. The Lions are very well run. They have a good GM. They have a great ownership. They have a tremendous head coach who actually builds a culture. They have an offense that didn't do anything against the Kansas City Chiefs, but decided to bounce back mightily both on the defensive side and the offensive side. That's a true culture. You're looking at some of these other teams that have real cultures and how they bounce back. The Dolphins don't do that. Yes, they do have one win against the woeful Jets, who are, let me just check, winless still. And it doesn't look like there's any hope for them anytime soon. I'll get into that a little bit later. This is really bad. Tua, this is his third game of having 2 or more interceptions. That ties Geno Smith and Jake Browning, both quarterbacks, one of which did get benched for a 40-year-old quarterback. The other one got benched in this game for Kenny Pickett after being obliterated by the Kansas City Chiefs, who might get benched, and I think the Raiders are really regretting signing him to that extension. But this is really bad because there's nothing you do right. The defense is 30th according to PFF. They're dead last against the run. They are 11th against the pass just because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pass defense was just choking against the Detroit Lions just last night. They're 31st in tackling, 31st in pass rush, 29th in coverage, 32nd in special teams. There is nothing this team does right. And now we're saying that all of a sudden we should have these expectations that things are going to get better just because what? You kept Tua in there? You kept your head coach around? Stephen Ross has the patience it's inhuman patience, because if I was the ownership group, I tried watching that game. And thank God the Jets were on, because if they weren't, the Dolphins game was probably worse than watching paint dry, because there's nothing that they did right. The offense was absolutely, they couldn't move the ball. Tua looked scared. He didn't throw it to really any open receivers. You look at the all-22 and you see Jalen Waddle pissed off on some routes that he wasn't the target for, was just a check down short pass. And that's another thing. Mike McDaniel's supposed to be this offensive guru. This whole offense, because Tua has four confirmed concussions, that they have to get the ball out of his hands instantly. Otherwise, you're worried he's going to take another big hit and he's going to have another concussion, which is catastrophic. So the entire Miami Dolphins offense is explosive play, quick, get it out fast, because you can't have Tua standing in the pocket for a long time, potentially having the offensive line collapse, that defense gets around them, and him taking another big hit. You can't rely on his legs because, again, lack of sliding, concussion chances and whatnot. And the worst part about it is you can't really get off of Tua, because he's set to make $25 million in guaranteed salary and $54 million in 2026. He's owed a $15 million option bonus within the first 3 days of the next league year. You can't really get off him without incurring some form of decent-sized dead cap hit. And the Dolphins already have cap issues because they don't spend money at all, or rather they spend it in the worst spots possible, so you can't build an effective team. You also have Chris Grier, who doesn't do really anything to help out your team. Because again, I said this before the season. I said it, after week 1, after watching the Colts just shut them down entirely. You knew you were losing Terry and Armstead. You knew you were losing him. He was old. He was thinking about retirement. He was planning retirement. Colin Cowherd trying to eke out the words that he's retiring on his show. You knew he was gone. And you did nothing to try to help him out. Instead, you got the worst guard in the NFL. You got Cole Strange, a bust for the New England Patriots, who I've said this before. Sean McVay talks about how he was like a 4th or a 5th round prospect on his board, and the Patriots took him in the 1st round. There's not many good moves that the Dolphins have made as of late. I will say, though, I think Brian Flores was right. Tua's not a good quarterback. Brian Flores, Tua said on the Dan Le Batard show or an interview with Dan Le Batard, he was saying how Brian Flores would tell him that he sucks, he's not right for the job, he's not good enough for the spot he was in. Well, I look at his performance. He's okay until mid-November, December, and then January, he freezes. He's winless under like 45 degrees. How can you do that? Because the Super Bowl is played in February. In order to get to the playoffs in the AFC, you have to go through a freezy Arrowhead in Kansas City, or you go up against and play the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo in December and January, where it's icy cold. You may play New England, freezy cold. I mean, there's nothing you can't escape the cold unless you go to the Super Bowl. But again, you have to go through the cold to get to the Super Bowl. I think that in this situation, there is no win-win. This is a season where you just say, you know what? We're screwed. Quinn Ewers is a late-round pick. He's not tremendous. Tua is an overpaid quarterback. Mike McDaniel, this offensive guru, can only scheme checkdowns and short passes, which, if you look at the film again, Tua, he overthrows a shocking amount of checkdown passes. I mean, if that's your offense, at least get that right. You can't, though. I think, and I'll also add on this, the Cleveland Browns, I'll give them their credit. They played a very effective style of defense because I think they actually shocked the Miami Dolphins a little bit because normally they run the least amount of zone defense in the entirety of the NFL. They ran it 91% of the time. 91% of the time. And it was the best defensive performance when it comes to turnovers and sacks since the Buffalo Bills did it, I think, last year, a couple years ago. So the team that ran zone the least ended up playing it the best. So all in all, the offense did nothing. Tua actually was a net negative, and it was a big net negative. The defense we knew was terrible, but it played all right, and I guess maybe the numbers, add some context there. The Browns offense did have like 40 yards to work with every now and then. They didn't necessarily need to go the length of the field. And I know Judkins had like a 46-yard big-time touchdown run. That's one play. All in all, they played relatively well. But this offensive guru, that's what we're talking about. Mike McDaniel, offensive guru. I think he's over the hill a little bit. You want to comment on something?
Yeah, I have a couple of additional comments.
Sure.
You didn't mention that Tua fumbled 3 times, but he didn't lose any of them. So I
care about turnovers more so.
And also they had 11 penalties for 103 yards.
That's discipline, lack of kosher.
Right. So my overall comment, Dolphins look pathetic in the offensive phase of this game with Tua and McDaniel mostly to blame.
Oh, big time. And I think that this does fall on Mike McDaniel because there was nothing. Again, you're the head coach. I understand.
And you know what? He comes out in the post game. This is encouraging for his team and motivating. He said, we did everything we could to lose the game.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, what else you want him to say? No, we were good. We were still in the game.
Yeah, the other thing that wasn't mentioned is the weather, which was terrible. Heavy rain and wind in the first half. So that affected both teams.
I just saw the Rams. I just saw the Rams put up 35 points in London when it was raining.
Yeah, but it wasn't raining like it was in Miami. That was.
And by the way, it stopped raining at like the halfway point. And that's when Tua got worse.
I'm just saying the first half, it was pretty miserable weather.
So you run the football. And by the way, Devon Achane, if you in his career of 10 or more attempts, this was his 8th best yards per attempt in his entire career of 10 plus attempts. Run the damn football.
Yeah, well.
How about you lean into what's working? Because if the guy holding the football, as you say, the guy holds the football on every single play, if he's turning the ball over or not moving the offense, How about you
Give
hand
it
it
to
to the
somebody
guy?
else.
Exactly. Exactly. And we're actually seeing that work in very nice fashion with the Chicago Bears. DeAndre Swift had a tremendous game. But speaking about, I said that, this team, the Dolphins, they created a new low for what they already did. I think this team, every single week we see them, there are some positives, but then the negatives just completely outweigh the positives entirely. And that's the New York Jets, who I don't know what's more boring, watching paint dry or watching a Justin Fields-led offense, because this was bad. This was really bad. 32 plays, 95 yards. That's sub 3 yards per play. He had 12 attempts, 6 completions, 46 passing yards, 3.8 yards an attempt. This is so bad. Now you have Jets owner Woody Johnson, who got interviewed literally a couple hours before the show, and this is what he had to say in the interview. I think Aaron Glenn is turning around parts of it. It's hard when you have a quarterback with a rating that we've got. He has ability, but something is just not jiving. But if you look at any head coach with a quarterback like that, you're going to see similar results across the league. You have to play consistently at that position, and that's what we're going to try to do. That is a direct shot at the guy he just gave $40 million to over the course of 2 years. That's how you know that this has nothing. And fire Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn's a bad head coach. He's not fit. We're now seeing him with Steve Wilkes. The defense has done a complete 180. The defense is no longer the issue. Was it initially? Sure. But now you have a combined 26 points in 2 weeks against the Denver Broncos. And now, really, the Carolina Panthers aren't a great team. But they've won 3 straight now. So, albeit, we'll see. Right, they do have a winning record. And I'll say this, Rico Dowdle, I said this in the prelude of it. I said that Chuba Hubbard coming back is going to hinder Rico Dowdle and ultimately the run game's effectiveness, which is almost what happened. Rico Dowdle had 79 yards. Chuba Hubbard, who's supposed to be the number 1 back, and they gave him carries as the number 1 back, he only had 31 yards on 14 carries. Rico Dowdle, 17 carries, 79 yards. So Rico Dowdle, based on his production, he nearly got 400 yards, nearly 500 yards, scrimmage yards. In 2 games, he's now hindered by the Panthers' supposedly starting running back. But no, this was bad. The Jets' offense doesn't move with Justin Hurts at quarterback. And now they're probably, based on what Rich Samidi is now reporting before the show, how they're probably going to move forward with Tyrod Taylor after Aaron Glenn said he's going to be talking around the league to figure out what he should do with the quarterback spot. You're the head coach. You have staff. You have coaches and staff members that work very closely with the players around you. I'd consult them instead of other coaches who aren't in your building. But I do think, though, going with Tyrod Taylor is the better of the 2 choices. Because at least Tyrod Taylor's offense moves. Justin Fields is 34th in passing first downs per game. And he's the only QB in that time frame who has 6+ games starting and under 50 first downs. He has 40 passing first downs. Only quarterback who has started 6 games or more who has that. Under 50. He holds on to the ball for way too long. 50% of his pressures in this week was due to his fault. The offensive line hasn't been great, but he holds on to the ball so long. And also on routes where guys are open, he doesn't throw it to him. He either throws the check down or he rolls out to a side and then throws a weird incompletion. He had 1 deep shot in this game, and it was into double coverage, which had no shot of even trying to be completed. Tyrod Taylor, on the other hand, he at least tries to push the ball downfield. There was 1 interception. He one-handed it. It got there. It was a beautifully thrown ball. Cornerback just had a better play. Can't really fault. At least he took a shot. That's the difference. Think about this. Well, some of them were double coached, but let me say this. Justin Fields never got closer than the Panthers' 33-yard line. He didn't even make it into the red zone. Now I'm starting to get vibes of that Thursday night game a couple years ago when they were playing the Jaguars and Chris Streveler was the quarterback and the fans were rooting for first downs because nobody could score. That's how bad this has gotten. You're getting booed off the field. Tyrod Taylor's at least trying. He's old. He's not effective. But at least, yes, there's 2 interceptions in the game. And here's what Jets fans, it's a lose-lose situation. But this is what Jets fans have to deal with. Do you want a quarterback who is very, besides fumbling, because everybody on the Jets is fumbling right now, but interception-wise, do you want a quarterback who's safe with the football, who doesn't throw many picks, but moves slower than a snail, or a quarterback like Tyrod Taylor who operates the offense a little bit better, maybe throws an interception or 2, but can actually move the football down the field? No matter what it is, it's a lose-lose situation. Here's the sad part. I see people like, oh, the Jets can now go get this rookie quarterback or this college quarterback. It doesn't matter. That's the sad part. It doesn't matter. Again, name a really top-tier Jets quarterback in NFL history. If we're going back 50 years, 60 years, that just shows how sad of an organization this has been. Because even then, you look at Joe Namath's stats, they're abysmal. Even for like sort of his time period, it wasn't very good. If we're talking about a true top-of-the-league quarterback, the Jets haven't had one. Yeah, Brett Favre got there when 500 got hurt. Well, and then he ended up actually going to an NFC Championship game the following year and being like a legitimate MVP candidate. So if we're saying Mark Sanchez...
For 2 years.
Again, though, his team got to the AFC Championship. I'm talking about individual play, but that was heavy defense and a very good running game. Oh. Mark Sanchez made a couple good plays and then got screwed over by play calling against the Steelers. But the Jets do not have a top-tier quarterback and haven't had one. The best season they've had in the 2000s might have been Ryan Fitzpatrick 2015. Was it the first year with Todd Bowles?
We saw Ryan Fitzpatrick beat the Patriots.
It was the first game we ever went to.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately, I mean, think about this. This just adds to the tragedy of the New York Jets. They've scored 7 offensive touchdowns this season. Or after week 1, they have 7 offensive touchdowns. 0 in the first half, 1 in the third quarter, which was the big long run by Justin Fields against Miami. And then 6th in the fourth quarter while trailing by 13 points or more. 4 touchdowns, 4 of those 6 came within the last 4 minutes. This offense doesn't move. It doesn't do anything. My concern with Justin Fields was he didn't have a lot of touch on his deep passes. Well, now he doesn't have touch on a short pass, an intermediate pass. Hell, I'll give him this. He's a little bit better at check down passes than Tua Tagovailoa. I'll give him that. But think about this. These are the drives led by Justin Fields, which, by the way, one of these drives he got hurt for, and Tyrod Taylor let them get the field goal. This is what happened. 6 plays, 22 yards, turnover on downs on an overthrow to, I think it was, do I have it here? It was an overthrow to somebody. I'm forgetting. Reynolds, Josh Reynolds. Overthrow to Josh Reynolds on a 4th and 5. Following drive. 6 plays, 17 yards. That took 3 minutes. 7 plays, 33 yards, a field goal. Field goal was led because he had to come out of the game. He got hurt. Tyrod Taylor came in, made a great throw on an out route, which put him in field goal range, or put him in better field goal range. That took 3 minutes, 48 seconds. The following drive, the 4th drive, 3 plays, 3 yards, punt, minute 15. 3 plays, 7 yards, punt, 2:26. 7 plays, 13 yards, end of the half, a minute 11. 32 plays, 95 yards, 2.96 yards per play. What about Tyrod Taylor? 6 plays, 21 yards, punt, 3:34. 10 plays, 41 yards, interception. That was the crazy interception. Deep pass, beautifully picked off ball, but it did get there. It was like a 50-50 ball. Unfortunately, it went the Panthers' way. That took 3 minutes and 11 seconds. Following drive, 9 plays, 56 yards, field goal, 2:27. And then the next 2 drives, 5 total plays, 0 yards, pick, and a punt. That took a grand total of 1 minute and 18 seconds. 30 plays, 118 yards, 3.93 yards per play. The Jets are not a good offense. They now have players doing cryptic tweets and cryptic messages. Breece Hall already went #free20. Alan Lazard after week 6 said, quote, "It gets easier with honesty." And now you have Jermaine Johnson, who, by the way, Breece Hall and Jermaine Johnson are in trade talks and trade rumors. Jermaine Johnson goes, laying it all out there, man. Something got to give. It's your offense that's got to give at some point. I mean, this is a dam backed up to infinity. It doesn't move. This is a train with no coal, no steam, no energy. It just flat out does not move. And that's because Justin Fields, he looks horrible in the pocket. Maybe they should use his athleticism more, but then again, you're not effective if they just contain you. If they put a QB spy on you, your effectiveness is limited. So the Jets are in a lose-lose, but they're the New York Jets. So you start on a lose-lose. I will give a lot of credit to Woody Johnson, their owner, because he understands it ain't Aaron Glenn. It can't be Aaron Glenn. The fact that he came out there and was that candid about how bad his quarterback was just shows how fed up he is. And you know what? This time it is justified. The Robert Saleh firing was not justified. He just got embarrassed on his own home soil. So the Robert Saleh firing after Rodgers threw 3 picks against the Minnesota Vikings, one that got picked 6, that wasn't at all Robert Saleh. That was more so just Aaron Rodgers had a bad game and a bad time where the fans expected them to be at the top of the AFC East, making playoffs and stuff like that. And unfortunately, it came at a bad time, so Robert Saleh got fired.
I'd make another comment on quarterback play. Each quarterback was sacked 3 times. So they're under a lot of pressure. The offensive line is very weak for the Jets.
It's not as weak as you said.
I'll summarize some of what you said in saying that Fields was benched for Taylor, who threw 2 picks. The way the Jets are playing on offense is enough to make you sick.
The thing is, though, the offensive line is not as bad. Is it not great? Sure. But it's not as bad when your quarterback holds onto the ball forever and doesn't do anything.
I mean, they have no running game. Look at Hall, 11 carries, 38 yards. Fields had 4 carries for 22 yards. That's it. That was the running game for them. So it's pretty easy for the Panthers to just tee off on them. They know they're not going to be able to run it. So they didn't even really try. 15 carries between those two. And Fields, those weren't designed runs. Those was him scrambling to try to pick up something after the play broke down.
Well, if you can't run the ball, okay, you can't run the ball. You move on. When you have 12 attempts.
But when you can't run the ball, you have a very hard time passing it because the defense knows that you can't run it, and they just tee off on the quarterback.
So then what you do is you use your quarterback to run more. If we're saying, so here's what I'm saying.
So I don't know why Fields doesn't do that more because he's a good runner.
Well, first of all, Justin Fields doesn't do anything. When you have 12 attempts and a half, you're not doing anything. You're a starting quarterback and you have 12 attempts and 6 completions and a half. When do we see that? Bryce Young doesn't do it. Mac Jones doesn't do it. Think about any bad quarterback. Anthony Richardson doesn't do it.
Well, Aaron Glenn for the quarterback against the Bengals will make the right decision.
Well, guess what? It's going to be Tyrod Taylor because you can't send Justin Fields out there after you got booed again. They're 0-7. You have to get something. And you know what? I think Tyrod Taylor's going to do A-okay. You know why? Because he nearly beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's the quarterback that that you're just sending out there after 7 weeks, actually 6 weeks, of just horrible play.
I'll say one other thing to back this up. The Panthers, who've been horrible all of Bryce Young's tenure so far, except recently, why have they been better recently? It's because they have a running game, right? Rico Dowdle. And now, the other guy, Chuba Hubbard coming back. Between the two of them, they had over 100 yards. And Dowdle, 79 yards on 17 carries is not a bad outing. I mean, that doesn't compare to 200 yards in 2 games in a row, but who knows? Maybe he'll do that again. We'll have to wait and see. But that's the reason the Panthers are doing better and Bryce Young is playing better. It's because less pressure on him and they're keeping the defenses honest with a legitimate running game. That's something the Jets don't have.
Well, they do, just not in this game in particular. Breece Hall's had over 100 yards in the season so far. And that was when they got blown out by the Dallas Cowboys, and the offense really, again, couldn't do anything. You're getting blown out, and most of your touchdowns are coming, fourth quarter when the game's already finished.
Then why are they looking maybe to trade him?
Because you want to get some value for a valuable player.
No, they know they can't run the ball.
But, okay, so, again, you would just be getting draft capital probably. You're
Did the Jets have a turnover? Did the defense have a turnover?
They got 1 turnover, and that was against the Denver Broncos on a
7
fumble.
games, they had 1 turnover.
Correct. It was the last in the league.
So they got some work to do on that side of the ball as well. But it is a lot better. The defense is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the last 2 weeks, the defense is not. And generally, you win a game. They win those games with the points they gave up. They only gave up 13 points to the Panthers and 13 to the Broncos.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Correct. They're averaging 13 points allowed the last 2 weeks. Meanwhile, their offense is averaging a grand total.
They scored 17 the last 2 games.
Exactly. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why you can't say, okay, it's on Aaron Glenn. No. Think about this. Look at what good quarterbacks and established quarterbacks are doing with injuries. Mac Jones is on like 3rd string tight ends, 4th string wide receivers. All he has is Christian McCaffrey.
He has the system.
They're, what, 3-4-1 with him?
He has the system. He has a Shanahan system. That's what Aaron Glenn lacks. He lacks something like that. And also,
Well, Tanner Engstrand was just the pass game coordinator with the Detroit Lions.
Aaron Glenn is the first head coach to lose the first 7 games of his first season. First time it's happened.
It's
Not
the
good.
Jets. It's the Jets. Think about Geno Smith was decently good for Seattle. Now, Raiders, this is a forgettable experience, but pretty good for Seattle for a couple of years. Sam Darnold, Pro Bowler.
Yeah, well, Geno Smith
MVP
had
candidate.
DK Metcalf to throw to. He had Tyler Lockett to throw to. He had a decent receiver core. He had a decent running game. He doesn't have that with the Raiders. The Gianti hasn't lived up to what they hoped he would be. And Bowers has been hurt. Jacoby Myers, you haven't heard his name very often, so they don't have the talent around.
We're talking about Brock. Yeah, well, Brock Bowers is supposed to be the guy who was just dominating all the records last year for a tight end. Who, by the way, Tyler Warren is projected to be a more efficient and a more dominant rookie tight end than Brock Bowers was last year. No, but this is unacceptable. That's all it is. Your head coach, it's not his fault. The owner's calling out the quarterback. You have no offense. You're stuck with a, 35, 36-year-old quarterback who, by the way, is injury prone. You have no other options. And maybe people are saying it's right, but again, I don't know if it would even make a difference. You said that you had him drafting Shedeur Sanders. My opinion is it wouldn't make a difference.
Why wouldn't they? At least it'd be interesting.
Because think about it.
Man, you say it's so boring that you rather
the
watch
offense
paint,
doesn't move.
You'd rather watch paint dry. I would prefer to watch Shedeur Sanders, see what he could do. That would at least be more interesting.
But again, I don't think it would make a difference. I
don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, think about it. The offensive line isn't as great as people thought. I thought it would be decent. I think, some of it's inflated because Justin Fields just holds on to the ball forever. Tyrod Taylor is a better quarterback than Justin Fields. He nearly beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and he played fine. But he had like a couple touchdowns and 1 interception. But again, that's what you're going to get. You're going to move the ball down the field, but there'll be some recklessness to him. Justin Fields doesn't move the ball, and the numbers look good. It looks all right. By the way, now the past couple games looks terrible. -10 net passing yards against the Denver Broncos. First time it's happened since the late 90s. The Jets are the first team. Well, do I have the stat here? I think I do. The Jets are the first team in NFL history, including the playoffs, where they had 0 turnovers, 1 or more takeaways, committed fewer than 2 penalties, and held their opponent under 250 yards. That was last week against the Denver Broncos. 66-0 teams were. Jets became the first team to lose into that situation. Average margin of those victories at the time, 23.2 points. Jets were -2.
We'll see what they do next week. They're playing the Bengals.
It's going to be Tyrod Taylor.
I think they're going to lose. I will pick against them. I think they're going to get hurt.
The spread opened at 4.5. Now it's all the way down to 6.5 for the Bengals.
Joe Flacco has been rejuvenated.
Well, think about it. Now you have...
Plus, he played for the Jets, and they wouldn't let him play, so he's got a revenge factor going for him.
That's true. It is a revenge game. Also, Sauce Gardner's dealing with a concussion. What are they? If Brandon Stevens, and I said this way before the season started, I was on this when Brandon Stevens was still in the Ravens. Brandon Stevens was arguably the worst free agency pickup you've had. He is a horrible cornerback. I said it. Whenever you look at the Ravens defense and you see a receiver wide open, Brandon Stevens was the primary cover guy. I mean, that's the case. And we saw it this week. He cost the Steelers game. He left guys wide open. Calvin Austin wide open. I mean, Brandon Stevens is not a good cornerback. His performance is terrible. I think that was a terrible free agent pickup. And you could argue now Justin Fields is competing right with them just because Justin Fields isn't doing anything. At least Brandon Stevens is doing something, even though it's going the opposite direction. Justin Fields just isn't doing anything. Now you have a 35-year-old quarterback having to start in his place. Man. And here's the funny thing. There's a big debate. What New York team is worse? The Jets or the Giants in the last 15 years? What team is worse? It's the New York Jets.
I think so.
Because at least the Giants have had shreds of hope. There have been moments. Oh, Daniel Jones, that rookie year, and in 2022, there were shreds of hope. Now now you have Jackson Dart now. There's something that the Jets have been...
Scatterboo.
In the last 15 years. Geno Smith. By the way, head coach was Adam Gase, which, again, yikes. Then you have Sam Darnold. Ryan Fitzpatrick in there as well. That's the only hope you had. Todd Bowles head coach. Ryan Fitzpatrick was the only hope you had. Then you got, draft picks of Christian Hackenberg, which great pickup. I mean, just go down the list of just bad Jets quarterbacks. Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts, but now he's rejuvenated, so I can't exactly hate on him. In the time I could, but now not anymore. I can't. Zach Wilson, who, by the way, again, Zach Wilson, in the last decade, Zach Wilson has tied for the most wins the Jets have had in a singular season.
Pretty bad.
At 7. They've never overcome 7 wins in the last decade. That's how bad the Jets are. If Zach Wilson is the only guy who's winning you football games back-to-back 7 and 10 seasons.
Yeah. You mentioned the Giants. I'm anxious to move on.
Oh, we're going to get to that right after this break. But coming up, like you mentioned, we're talking New York Giants because what a game that was. Bo Nix, 33 points in the fourth quarter. The Giants absolutely collapsed. As well as you have your weekly report. We're going to cover every single NFL game that was on Sunday and on Monday. We're going to break it all down, each and every game, right after this 30-second break.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show, which is indeed the collapse of the New York Giants. After they were doing so well, so promising, up 19-0 entering the fourth quarter. Arguably the greatest collapse in a singular quarter in NFL history, where the Broncos proceed to score 33 points and the Giants could maybe crawl to a 32 points, and eventually Broncos go all the way down, kick a game-winning field goal. Yeah, it was, what a collapse it was. People are calling for Brian Daboll's job. We're going to talk about that, I'm sure. But ultimately, I'll ask you, who do you think is most to blame for the New York Giants' loss to the Denver Broncos on Sunday?
For the Broncos to come back down by 19, scoring 33 points in the fourth quarter, was an amazing breakthrough. But for the Giants to allow it to happen is a Daboll coaching issue. That's my take. The Broncos come back, one of the most stunning in NFL history, scoring 33 points on their last 5 drives, 295 yards. Patrick Surtain, we didn't lose our composure. Nix, first player to run and throw for 2 TDs in the fourth quarter. Giants snapped a streak of 1,602 games won by teams when leading by 18 points in the final 6 minutes of a game. 1,602 games, and now it's 1,602-1. Daboll, tough loss. They put their heart and soul into it. To me, the coaching decision to let Dart throw on third down with the score 26-16, Giants ahead, 4:38 left in the game, was a huge mistake. Ball was intercepted, and Denver scored in 4 plays, 19 yards, and 56 seconds to make it 26-23, and it was all downhill from there. And even the Giants got a gimme with a passing interference call, which was bogus. Even Sean Payton running down the sidelines got a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on him for saying that penalty was silly, and he was right. That was not pass interference. The Giants scored, and then they had the lead, and they still couldn't win the game. They still couldn't stop the Broncos with only 31 seconds left. The Broncos go down there with 2 seconds left. Nick spikes the ball, kicks the field goal, game over. Daboll slams his headset down yet again, storms off the field. I really think the Giants have a coaching issue. I give him credit for the Jackson Dart, I think, is a promising rookie, and I thought I would have drafted Shedeur Sanders ahead of Dart, but now in retrospect, it looks like Dart could be the real deal, and Scatterboo also looking very good. Those guys out there, they have a nucleus maybe. They've got something to build around. They're interesting to watch. They're competitive against a team like the Broncos, who is one of the best defenses in the league, and now they're bringing back Dre Greenlaw. They have him, and he's coming off the IR to play. What are they going to be like when they get him out there, too?
He was in this game.
Well, then their defense is really something, I think.
However, he's suspended already.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He went after a ref in the very end of the game.
Oh, my. I didn't know that. But anyway, you look at Dart, 15 of 33, 283, 3 TDs and an interception. Great game from him. I have nothing, except that interception, which it was a call from the sidelines to do that play. They should have let you run it. They punted the ball down the field. The Broncos, instead of going 19 yards, would probably have to go 80 yards. They wouldn't have had enough time to catch up. That was just a bad coaching call. Scatterboo, 16 carries, 60 yards. Tracy, 9 for 46. He's back now. Robinson, 6 for 95 on receiving, and Bellinger, 3 for 88, 1 touchdown. Nix, 27 of 50, 279 yards and 2 TDs. Dobbins, 14 for 81 rushing. Nix had 5 rushes for 48 yards. Sutton, 6 receptions for 87, and Mims, 6 for 85. Bo Nix, man, I mean, did nothing for 3 quarters. They were terrible, but the Giants' defense was stellar. You got to give them a lot of credit. They really came to play. They played great until the fourth quarter, where I guess they just ran out of gas. But again, I think the Giants could have won that game if they made some better decisions on the coaching side of the ball.
So I just want to ask you a real question before I dive in. I heard a lot about, they let Bo Nix go all the way down the field, and Bo Nix led all the way down the field, and Bo Nix, how are you putting that on Daboll? Daboll calls offense. How are you blaming that on Daboll then?
No, at that point in the game,
Daboll doesn't call defense. He has nothing to do with that defensive collapse.
He could have helped the defense out a lot by not letting Dart throw that pass, which was intercepted. Sure. And they got the quick touchdown. It was 26-23 then. It was a totally different ball game.
Sure.
They still had over 4, I think there was still a little over 3.5 minutes left in the game. Plenty of time.
Right.
And, the way that the Broncos were coming back and the Giants were fatigued on defense, I just think that's a coaching thing to me.
So, just a question. They were up by 10 at that point, the one you're talking about, the interception.
Yeah.
They did run it first and second down.
I know that. They should have done it. They should have done it in third down, too.
They gained 5 yards.
That's okay. That's okay. You're just trying to run time off the clock.
So let's say you run it on third.
You kick the ball 80 yards.
Nobody's kicking it 80 yards in the NFL.
No, but they would have had to go 80 yards instead of 19. You don't let him pass it there when they're down almost in the red zone already. Right? Yep. And Dart is a rookie.
Sure.
Come on. Don't put that kind of pressure on him. Get the defense. The defense have been playing great to that point. They put the responsibility on them. I bet the Giants would have won the game if that interception had not happened.
Well, I'll also say this.
I would have bet you money on it.
Sure. I'll also say this. Why did he throw it?
He threw it because that was the play call from the sidelines.
We saw Bo Nix in this game get pressured and opt to not throw the ball into coverage, which would have been intercepted.
Dart is a rookie.
Correct.
You don't put that kind of pressure on him in this kind of game this early in his career.
Right.
When you could still win the game.
Sure.
Never would have happened under a Belichick led team.
You're right.
He would have run the ball and let the defense take it.
I don't think if Belichick was the coach, I don't think they would be able to put up 32 points in a game with the Giants team.
That's
I'll say this though. I'll say this. Yeah, he did call a passing play. Could have taken a sack. Could have thrown an incomplete pass. Could have run the ball.
You're missing my point.
You're telling me to put him in the spot.
He's a rookie. They put him in a bad spot. They shouldn't have done that.
Who led winning games against the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Chargers?
Sample. He's only played a few games.
Right, but there's a level of confidence you have.
You could have won this game. Turn it over to the defense. They've been playing great the whole game.
Why turn it? Sure.
I would have turned it back to them. The Broncos would have had, even if the Broncos had scored,
which they did.
They would have had, but they scored from 19 yards out.
They would have had to go.
They would have had to go maybe 80 yards, okay, to score. Time would have run out. They never would have had time to come back
They
in
would
this
not.
game.
First of all,
they
time
never
would
would
have
have
run
had time
out.
to
There
come
was
back.
5
They
minutes in
kicked
the
the
game where
winning
he threw a
field goal
pick.
with 2 seconds left, okay? They never would have been in that position. Time would have run out on them.
Well, first of all, here's the thing. We're playing the hypothetical game. I'm looking at what actually happened. They did run it twice. They got nowhere. So what do? You're going to run. Okay, well, let's see if we could just ice the game like they did against the Eagles. Let's throw the ball. They had more running success against the Eagles. In this game, they couldn't run the ball very well. Jackson Dart's
the Eagles
effectiveness.
game was a different situation. It was not as close as this game. It was nowhere near as close.
Right.
They beat the Eagles by 17 points.
Actually, this game wasn't close. This game wasn't close. It was 19-0.
It was 10 points at that. It was a 10-point lead at that point.
That's a
and the
2-score game. That isn't
The Broncos
close.
were playing better at that point. They had scored a touchdown and they had scored a field goal.
Okay.
They had 10 of their 33 points already, and there was 26-16 at that point, right?
5-13
so they had
to play.
scored 16 points already in the fourth quarter.
Sure.
They should have punted the ball, or they should have run the ball. Maybe they would have gotten the first down. Who knows? I doubt it. But then they could have punted the ball way down the field. The Broncos would have taken them time to come back and score. Even if they did score, there wouldn't have been enough time.
Okay, what?
There wouldn't
Okay,
have been
so
enough time for them to catch up.
So then again, we're playing the hypothetical game. Okay, what happens if they don't throw the DPI call to put the Giants on the 1-yard line? They don't even have an opportunity to score what would have been the game-winning touchdown at that time. Okay, we can play this hypothetical game all day long.
I'm just telling you, that's my take.
Right,
Nate.
you're talking about
Okay?
something that happened with 5:13 left in the game. I'm talking.
No, there wasn't 5:13 left.
When he threw the interception, it was 26-16, 5:13 to play. Gained 5 yards on 2.
4:38 left.
So again, 4.5 minutes left in the game. We're seeing Baker Mayfield come back with games with 90 seconds left. So again, we could play this hypothetical game all we want. What if they don't call the DPI? What if what about this? What about their kicker that they just released? What if he kicks 2 extra points instead of misses the 2?
Many coaches would have never thrown the ball in that situation.
We've seen
Winning
many coaches do it.
would not throw
first
the
of all-
ball in that situation with that guy, a guy who just starting his career. Too much pressure. Tried to make a play. Should have, as you said, could have taken a sack. The clock would have kept running. He could have taken a sack. The clock would have kept running.
Right.
That would have been the best move. Yeah,
But
he could have done
hold on.
that. When he saw that it wasn't open, instead of force it, take the
I'm
sack.
lost then.
Clock keeps running. You take another 40 seconds off.
Sure.
You kick the ball way down the field. Even if Denver comes back and scored, time's going to run out. Time's going to be gone.
I might be lost in this entire scenario, but I thought we were supposed to have faith in young quarterbacks. I thought when you go up against the team that just won the Super Bowl with the amount of firepower they have, and you shut them down, and your offense plays at an incredibly high level, when you go up against a Jim Harbaugh-led Los Angeles Chargers team, and you embarrass them on several levels, and your quarterback in his first start plays very effectively and gives you an ounce of hope, why all of a sudden would you pull back and say, just play it safe? Just take it easy. Just don't do anything. No. Have faith in your guys. That's all Brian Daboll has done. Brian Daboll is coaching for his job. So he's going to just try to put...
And he made a bad decision there.
But it's not his fault.
Yes, it is.
How is it his fault that his defense gave up 33 points?
Its defense ran out of gas. They did run out of gas.
So hold on. If the defense ran out of gas, why are we saying to put the defense back on the field instead of an opportunity to get a first down?
At that point, even if they were out of gas, it would have taken them more than the scoring. The scoring on the 19-yard thing was 54 seconds.
Under a minute.
Under a minute. It would have taken them at least 2.5 minutes probably.
They went 56 yards in 37 seconds for the game-winning field goal. They went 6 plays, 68 yards.
You know what?
6 plays.
Totally different game at that point.
Okay, fine.
How about
this?
Totally
How about
different
this?
game.
How about this? Giants are leading 26-23. They go 6 plays, 68 yards in 51 seconds. They went 19 yards, 56 seconds. 68 yards, 51 seconds. They scored each of their scores after the Jackson Dart pick. Their last 3 scoring drives, all under a minute. So we're playing this hypothetical game. I'm looking at it right now. This was an incredibly effective offense within 4 minutes. And we're talking all these hypothetical. Again, why would you put the defense back out there if you're saying the defense got gassed? They just let up. They just let up a 74-yard drive, 13 plays, 74 yards.
I think it's the
in
wrong
5 minutes.
I think it's the wrong thing to do to put that kind of pressure on a rookie quarterback who has very little playing time in the NFL. Even though he's played well, I give him that.
Exactly, he's played well.
I think it. Don't think it helps his confidence to have that kind of play happen. Okay, I'd rather kick the ball down the field. You're in harm's way there. You're very close to your own end zone. Kick the ball, take a sack, keep the clock running, and then kick the ball down the field. They would have run out of time.
Bo Nix at 191 yards, 4 total touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I'm genuinely lost here because you're putting this on Brian Daboll for having faith in his quarterback, but then also saying to put the defense back out there when you're also saying the defense was gassed.
The defense was gassed, but Nate, they would have had to go all the way down the field instead of 19 yards.
And you're saying this is going to take 4 minutes.
Well, maybe not 4.
Their 3 final scoring drives took under a minute.
They were still
each.
ahead by 10 points at that time when that happened. When that happened, they were still up by 10.
Okay, so hold on. Let's say that they drained the entire 40 seconds off the clock, which that entire drive would be a minute 6. That drive, instead of a pick, let's say they run the game clock all the way down to a minute, or the 40 seconds. So that would be a minute 6. That following touchdown drive took 56 seconds. So let's say, first of all, it wouldn't take 80 yards. They were on where were they at?
They were on the 20. They would have kicked it down to the other opposing 20.
Who the hell is kicking 80 or like 50, 60-yard punts?
Yeah, well, that's possible.
It's possible, but not
maybe
probable.
Maybe they kick it to the 30. Maybe they kick it to the 30. It's still 70 yards and still instead of 19.
Which the Broncos did in 52 seconds. They went 68 yards in 51 seconds.
You know what? Not every drive is going to be 50 seconds, okay?
Their last 3 were 56, 51, and 37.
I like my chances a lot better in that situation than have the defense on the field trying to protect 19 yards for them to get a touchdown and be down by 3. That was a very bad situation. Very bad.
Again,
when that happened, I said, here it goes. This game's going to get lost. And I was right, even though there was the gimme pass interference for the Giants.
But so that's what we're saying. We're saying, the Giants
the
did
Giants
a bad decision
better off.
and then got that.
When Dart, he scored the touchdown at the end there on what down? First or second down?
I think it might have been third.
No.
First and goal.
First and goal. He should have taken the knee and then tried it on the run some more time off the clock. The Broncos had used up what they had 1 timeout left. I think they had 1 timeout.
The Giants also had a timeout.
So,
but again, like we're saying, these
I can understand. We're leaving too much time on the clock with 31 seconds. No, it turned out that it wasn't. The Broncos, and I give Nix a lot of credit moving the team down the field that fast to get into position to kick that field goal. It was like an extra point field goal by the time they got down there.
Oh, we'll see.
It was an exciting game. I'll give it that. It was a great game to watch. I love the game. But I just felt like the Giants, that was a game they beat themselves. They beat themselves in this game. They were up 19-0 after 3 quarters. They got 33 points in 1 quarter. 33 points in 1 quarter.
That falls on Shane Bowen, the defensive coordinator, calling the defense. Because when you change the defensive scheme to heavy pressure to dropping 7 or 8 in coverage, you're allowing the run game to develop, which it did for the Broncos side, increasing the plays.
Daboll should have said something. Okay, so Daboll should have
doesn't run defense.
Got on the headset. I see him talking to them all, walking up and down the sidelines, talking to those guys, criticizing them probably. You should have said something to him. Said, hey, switch the defensive scheme back to what we were doing that was when we were shutting them out instead of going to the prevent and giving up all those points. Huh?
I
think there's coaching issues for the Giants. That's my take.
Because think about
it. That's my take.
Their defense already wasn't great this season. Could we argue they were overperforming and then resumed as normal after this point? They weren't a good defense to begin with. They were a very underwhelming defense before this game.
Their defense has played good the last few games. They've turned it around. Their defense has been very good.
Their defense hasn't been great. It's been bottom 10 in the league.
The defense was good against the Chargers. It was very good against the Chargers.
Behind the 5th string offensive line.
The defense was good against the Saints, too. It was the turnovers.
The Saints are a bottom feeder.
So the defense was very good against the Broncos for 3 quarters of the game.
That's what I'm saying. They're overplaying, and then they came back down to earth.
They could have won that game.
Yeah,
I'm
they
just saying
should have.
they should have won that game.
And then Shane
They didn't
Bowen
win
choked.
that game. It's on the players too, but the coaching. I think there was the time had run down, so they could have done some things to run the clock out. So the Broncos
They did.
didn't
They
have
ran
enough
the ball
time.
and couldn't run the ball. Jackson Dart had 5 carries, 11 yards. Scatterboo, that drive you're talking about, 2 carries, 5 yards.
The interception hurt them badly.
Couldn't run the ball.
The interception turned into a touchdown.
Okay, so then they were up 26-23.
Yeah, 3 points.
Hold on, the
With
defense.
plenty of time left at that point.
Right, and so you have another shot. Then you still can't run the ball. So you have to go. You have to, well, they score a touchdown. You can't do anything. That's what I'm saying. You couldn't do anything.
Okay,
But
let's
then-
move on.
Sure. All right, this is the weekly recap. Every single week, we break down every single game on Sunday and Monday. This is your big topic here. I love doing this every single week. So let's begin with the first game that you want to cover, which is the Houston Texans. Is it the Houston Texans?
Yes.
Seattle Seahawks?
Yep.
So let's begin with that one.
Okay. Despite 4 turnovers, Seahawks defense saves the day. So the Seahawks defense is playing at a Super Bowl caliber, I think. But with 2 turnovers by Darnold and 4 overall, the offense is hardly infallible. I'd say Nigjigba. Smith Nigjigba. That's an interesting name, and it's hard to pronounce. He seems to be their offensive threat right now, and particularly in this game. Do you think Seattle is wondering why they gave a big contract to Cooper Kupp at this point?
Whoa.
He threw an interception in this game.
I don't know how big of a
And why did they
contract
give
he's
him
got.
such a big contract? I've watched several of the Seahawks games. His name never comes up. He hardly ever does anything. I think the Rams saw he was past his prime. I think the Seahawks made a mistake by giving him a huge contract. The Texans offense
Not huge.
only scored 1 TD, and that was with only 2:04 remaining. The other TD came courtesy of a Darnold fumble in the end zone. Bad play call. Again, this is similar to what I was saying about the Giants. They were right down on the goal line there. They should have just run it into the line there and run some more time off the clock and then punted. And then the Texans would have had a long field. Stroud was sacked 3 times. He was 7 times more. McDonald, he said the 12s were on fire. That's the 12th man. People, the fans in the stands. Great atmosphere. Our guys are fired up. Our home crowd was just tremendous. And Darnold, 17 of 31, 213, 1 TD, 1 interception. Walker, 17 for 66 running. Charbonnet, 12 for 49, 2 TDs. Ignajiba, 8 for 123 and 1 TD. And on the Texans side of the ball, they got all kinds of problems. So I think Stroud, 23 of 49, 229, 1 TD, 1 interception. Stroud was the leading rusher, 2 for 25 yards.
Just a quick question. Which drive are you saying that they should have ran it just to move the clock more?
The one where Darnold gave up the
interception?
The TD. He fumbled it in the end zone for a touchdown by the Texans.
Okay.
They were doing nothing up to that point. The defense got the first touchdown. That was a
Well, first of all,
to me that was a gimme. When you're ahead like that, play not to lose. You know.
Well, I think overall, no, the Texans, their offense needs work. They don't have an offensive line. The Seahawks defense is very, very good. I think it's top of the league.
How about Darnold? Do you feel like he's really the guy who could take him to the Super Bowl?
He's fine. He plays a little bit reckless, sure. Yeah. No, first of all, the Seahawks are not making the Super Bowl. So Sam Darnold is not a Super Bowl quarterback.
Okay.
Anyone? Well, I don't think anyone was really thinking that after we just saw him lose his job in Minnesota after he had back-to-back very bad weeks. I don't think he's...
Do you think Minnesota might wish they'd rethought that now? Look at the situation they're in. We'll get to that. Okay, onward.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, the Rams rout the Jags. Stafford, 5 TDs. Matthew Stafford's 5 touchdown passes sealed the blowout deal, proving the Jaguars are not for real. And I truly believe that. Stafford should be knighted in England for his 5 TD performance at Wembley Stadium against the Jaguars. He has 12 TDs and no interceptions in his past 4 games. The 5-2 record is the best start since their 2021 Super Bowl year. Adams, 3 TDs. Lawrence, sacked seven times. had 13. They had 13 penalties for 119 yards. Another undisciplined game from them. The only bright spot was Hunter, who finally is breaking out on offense with 8 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown. Lawrence, 23 of 48, 296, 1 touchdown. No running game. ATN, 8 for 44 yards. Hunter was the big patch catcher, 8 for 101. Thomas, their supposed number 1 receiver, 3 for 31.
Well, I think we have to realize something right now.
It's a blowout, 35-7.
This is their second game without any turnovers, and in the games combined, they averaged 19 points on offense while giving up a grand total of 55 yards on defense. Or 55 points, on defense. So this team is an opportunistic team. They score when they get the turnovers, obviously. They have back-to-back games with no turnovers and have a piss-poor offense, and their defense also has struggled mightily. This shows the resilience of the Rams without Puka Nacua, the number 1 receiver in the NFL, in my opinion, although I do think JSN is a close number 2. I think the Jaguars, I agree with you, they're not for real. They're an opportunistic defense. They need turnovers to succeed. That's the reason why they beat the Chiefs. There's no other way to put it. That's the reason why they beat the Chiefs. So I think, I don't think the Jaguars are going anywhere. I think both of our predictions of them being dead last in the AFC South or close to it is wrong. We each, I think, had them in 3rd place. That's probably going to be wrong because the Texans don't do anything right this season. But the defense is all right. So, no, I agree with you, though. The Jaguars aren't anything. I think this shows a lot more of how resilient the Rams are.
Okay, moving on. The Chiefs shut out the Raiders. Rice, 2 TDs in his return. My comment here, the Chiefs started the game with 3 80-yard touchdown drives, which make you wonder if the hapless Raiders were even alive. The first team to do it, this stat, since 2000. They got the second half kickoff, too, and marched 65 yards for another score. Most starters sat in the 4th quarter. They were so far ahead. Pete Carroll, they're a terrific team. Smith, 10 for 16 for 67 yards. Giante, 6 for 21. Tucker, 5 for 33. They had no offense at all, the Raiders. Mahomes, 26 of 35 for 3 touchdowns. Pacheco, 15 for 57 and a touchdown. Mahomes, 4 rushes for 28 yards. Kelsey in the game, 3 for 54. Rice, 7 for 42 and 2 TDs. To me, with him back and all the other guys healthy, if they can stay healthy, Chiefs are a Super Bowl contender in my mind.
For a team who doesn't run the football a lot or very well, they ran it 41 times, 152 yards and a touchdown here. No, I think that this I'm not as, happy about the Chiefs. I am devastated about the Raiders. The Raiders are just a very, very bad team. Ashton Genty, I agree with you, is not living up to expectations whatsoever. The fact that Trey Tucker is your number 1 wide receiver, that's a bit concerning. Geno Smith looks far over the hill. He's not Seahawks Geno. He's very much New York Jets.
Yeah, a lot more
Geno
talent
Smith.
when he was with the Seahawks.
Maybe. He also, he has the head coach that he worked with, too. So there is something like that.
Okay, moving on.
Damn, okay.
Tua throws 3 interceptions and a loss to Cleveland. We analyzed this game ad nauseum. I'll say again, the Dolphins look pathetic in their offensive phase of this game with Tua and McDonald mostly to blame. And why Mike McDaniel is still their head coach is perplexing to me. Okay, moving on. The Pats 31, Titans 13. Pats beat Titans handily in Vrabel's return. My comment here, 91% completion percentage for Drake May as the Patriots pummeled the Titans on Sunday. May was 21 of 23, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 135.9 passer rate. Vrabel gets his revenge on the Titans. One fan held up a sign in the stadium apologizing to Vrabel. He was fired. He took the team in 6 years, took them to 3 playoff runs, got to the AFC Championship once. Now look at what they've done since he left. They've fallen completely apart. 4 straight wins for the Pats. May is the 3rd player under 24 with at least 200 yards and a passer rating of 100 or better in 6 straight games. The only 2 others who've done it, Mahomes and Marino. Ward was sacked 5 times, fumbled for a Pats TD. McCoy, the interim head coach, said it looks as bad as Callahan in his first game. We're going to stick together, is what he said. Ward was 25 of 34, 255, 1 TD, 1 interception. I feel bad for him. They have no running game. Spears was the leading rusher with 5 carries for 22 yards.
I think that what Drake May's done is very, very incredible and very, very impressive. He beat Tom Brady's record of the highest completion percentage in Patriots history, as well as he tied Tom Brady for 4 games of at least 200 passing yards, a 135 rating, and 2 passing touchdowns, which was the 07 Brady season, the best season that the Patriots have had, and arguably the best season in NFL history. So I think Drake May deserves to be an MVP candidate. The defense did its job against a very, very bad team. And Cam Ward looks bad. Yeah, we see bad quarterbacks on bad, or we see rookie quarterbacks on bad teams, or young quarterbacks on bad teams. But Cam Ward looks like a bad young quarterback on a very, very bad team.
Yeah, one other comment: Stevenson, 18 carries, 88 yards, and a touchdown.
He had a really good game.
No
really,
fumbles.
Really
Hey,
that's the big one.
Okay, moving along here. The Jets remain only winless team. We went through this, and Fields benched. We'll see what happens with Tyrod Taylor starting, whether he can cut down on his interceptions. So maybe the Jets get a win. But they're playing against the Bengals this week, and I'll be picking against them. Moving right along. The Bears' defense dominates and win over the Saints. The Bears under Johnson, now under Ben Johnson, have won 4 in a row, with their defense against the Saints putting on a show. Dennis Allen, former Saints head coach, now the Bears DC, was 18-25 with the Saints and got fired. Got the game ball from Johnson. Forced 4 turnovers for their fourth straight game. That's pretty good. 16 turnovers in 4 games. 4 sacks in this one. 3 interceptions against Rattler. Caleb Williams, a little spotty in this game. 15-26 for 172 yards. No touchdowns, 1 interception. Running game had 222 yards with 124 and TD and a TD from Swift. Williams 15-26, 172, and I guess I mentioned that. No TDs, 1 interception. Swift 19 for 24 with 1 touchdown. Rattler 20-32, 2 touchdowns, but the 3 interceptions cooked them. They have no running game again. Kamara, who's has been a good football player in the past, this year not so great. 11 carries for 28 yards.
I think that this offense cannot rely on Caleb Williams. He's still too raw. This has to run through DeAndre Swift, and it's DeAndre Swift who hasn't had a great couple seasons as of late, but ultimately I do think he's a good running back. I expected highly of him. I have him on my fantasy team. I thought this offensive line would help drastically, and it has. DeAndre Swift, a great game for him. Hopefully he can continue that. And Ben Johnson, so far the offense is working, and the defense is now finally catching up.
Okay, moving along here. The Eagles bounce back, as I predicted they would, with dominant passing. The Eagles 28, Vikings 22. Wentz throws 2 picks, and McCarthy is still not ready to play. Do you think the Vikings are wishing they had given Darnold a contract to stay? Doesn't look like O'Connell can make Wentz into his second reclamation project like he did with Darnold. They couldn't score a TD on 6 red zone drives in the game against the Eagles. McCarthy played poorly when he was in there, but the Vikings are likely to go back to him, I think. And why not? Hurts had his best day of the year, throwing the ball with 326 yards and 3 TDs. They rebounded from back-to-back losses. The running game's still an issue for me. Barkley with 18 carries, 44 yards. In Wentz's defense, the Vikings had no running game at all, either, with Mason, 15 carries for 57 yards. And, the passing game, Wentz with 26 of 42, 313 yards, but 2 interceptions. Addison had 9 receptions for 128, and Jefferson 5 for 79, but they couldn't touch the Eagles, who were Hurts 19-23, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns. Smith had Devonta Smith 9 receptions, 183 yards, and a touchdown. And Brown, he must have been happy with his 4 catches for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Well, I think this is a good game. Jalen Hurts, the passing game opened up beautifully. He had, He had one more incompletion than he did passing touchdowns, 14.2 yards per completion. So he was coming up big there. He did take 3 sacks. The offensive line is still not great. Doesn't run block very well. Jalen Hurts getting pressured a little bit more than you'd like, but he had the second highest QBR scare, 0 to 100. He had a 95.1. He had a tremendous game. The Saquon thing, that still scares me against a more formidable opponent than the Minnesota Vikings, led by Carson Wentz. So, I think Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, they got theirs. So hopefully we could, see less cryptic tweets and then press game, shots at Jalen Hurts in the pass game. Because you know what? Jalen Hurts and that deep ball looked pretty damn good against the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
So congrats to the Eagles, bouncing back.
And now my Cinderella team, the Colts 38, the Chargers 24. I believe the Chargers were favored in this game and the point spread. The Colts are for real with a prolific offense and serviceable defense. Most of the games on their remaining schedule look winnable as the second half commences. They have the best scoring offense. They have Taylor, who had 3 TDs. He was 16 rushes for 94 yards. Jones, another good game, 288 yards, 2 TDs, 23 of 34. Taylor, his comment, the offensive line makes my job easy. They led by 23-3 at halftime. The Chargers have lost 3 of 4. Lost despite Herbert's 420 yards passing. One interception was batted. It was a batted ball that was caught by a lineman. They had no running game. The Colts should beat Las Vegas next week pretty easily, I think. The Chargers have the Vikings at home. But Herbert, 37 of 55, 420 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions were hurt. He was the leading rusher, 6 rushes for 31 yards. There's a pattern here, right? Teams who don't have a running game don't win. The leading receiver was a guy named Gadsden, 7 catches for 164 yards. Allen had 11 for 119, and McConkey 9 for 67. So the passing game is working great. But the Colts are a complete team. They have not only a very good passing game with Jones throwing for 288 and 2 TDs. They've got Jonathan Taylor, who is arguably the best running back in the league right now.
I'll say this. I think the Colts are the Cinderella story. Daniel Jones is the redemption. Although I will say the Chargers do not have an offensive line. They're down to their third and 4th string running backs. Quentin Johnston was a no factor in this game, still coming back from injury. Keenan Allen is old. The fact that you're throwing to a 3rd string tight end is not exactly what I want to see if I'm Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. They did go 50% on 3rd down, which is impressive. And I think, again, this is just a wasted opportunity. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Daniel Jones did a very good job operating this offense. And then you have Jonathan Taylor running for 3 rushing touchdowns in this one, which is big. Mm-hmm. I think that the Colts have everything. You have your deep threat in Alec Pierce. You have your rookie tight end who's absolutely insane. Your wide receiver 1 in Michael Pittman Jr. A.D. Mitchell got out there. He had one target, 1 catch for 8 yards. He didn't fumble out of the back of the end zone. Even Amir Abdullah, former Raider, I believe. He had a couple big carries in this one. He also had a catch in this game.
And the Colts' schedule looks very winnable for them the rest of the way. Look very winnable.
Their defense still scares me a little bit, but I will say that they did a fine job when it mattered in this game, and it didn't cost them because they were able to beat the Chargers by 2 touchdowns. So good for the Colts.
Giants,
Number 1 team in the
Broncos,
AFC.
We covered this one. Nothing more to say. Broncos score 33 points in the 4th quarter to get win, says it all. Packers, Cardinals. Packers 27, Cardinals 23. Jacobs and Parsons lead the way and win over the Cards. Packers have to come from behind late to beat the 2-5 Redbirds. These close games against inferior opponents make them look like nerds, in my mind, the Packers. They fell into a 10-point hole in the first half. The go-ahead TD run by Jacobs with only 1:50 left in the game. Parsons had 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and 5 quarterback hurries. First road win for the Packers. They're 4-1-1 now. The Cardinals had a chance to win on the final drive, but Brissett, 4th down pass, was batted away in the end zone with 6 seconds left. So Packers easily could have lost this game. And they play down to their opponent. It's my concern for them. I'm surprised, actually, that their record's as good as it is. The Cardinals have lost 5 straight by a total of 13 points. Love was 19 of 29 for 179 yards and a touchdown, and he was the And Jacobs, the leading rusher, 1355 with 2 touchdowns. Love had 4 rushes for 22. Dobbs and Kraft were the leading receivers. Brissett, another good game, 25 of 36, 279 and 2 touchdowns. I wonder whether Murray will be coming back anytime soon. Knight was the leading rusher, and again, they had no rushing game, 14 for 57. Brissett, 6 for 26 in the rushing.
I'll say this. I think one of the reasons why this offense is as effective as it is because they're getting Trey McBride the ball. Trey McBride is arguably, I think at this point, consistency-wise, their best threat on offense, and Jacoby Brissett is getting in the ball. He got 11 targets last week and 13 in this one. He had 18 catches over the last 2 games, 8 1 week ago and 10 this past week. So they're getting him the football, and lo and behold, 27 against the Colts, 23 against the Packers. Yeah, Micah Parsons, first 3-sack game of his career, but this game was, nip and tuck through the entirety of the game. The Packers scare me a little bit because, like you say, they played down to their opponent. I think they should be much better than they actually are. Jordan Love, largely ineffective in this game, only had 1 touchdown. I need to see more from him if we're going to be putting them, they were top tier of the Super Bowl favorites category. I got to see more from him and more efficiency. They ran the ball okay, but I got to see more efficiency from Jordan Love. I'm going to say that, this team is a true playoff threat to go deep in the NFC.
Okay, next game, the Commanders and the Cowboys. The Cowboys round up Commanders in blowout win. And I comment here, the Commanders' defense is suspect, with the Cowboys burning them for 44 points. Now, with Daniel sidelined with a hamstring, future opponents will be showing them the door. Lamb, Pickens, and Prescott lead one of the best offenses in the NFL now. If the defense can continue to play better, Dallas could get back in it, I think. The Commanders have a leading running game, which was stopped by the Cowboys, and that's been their huge weakness. So Prescott, 3 TDs. Bland, a 68-yard interception return for a touchdown. Williams, 116 yards rushing and a touchdown. Ferguson, their tight end, has 50 catches and 6 TDs in 7 games. The Commanders are in trouble, I think, with Daniels hurt again. Mariota is an over-the-hill backup. They're missing their top 3 receivers. So I think the Commanders not for real this year, and they're going to be hurting now without Jaden Daniels in there. A hamstring is usually a 3-game deal.
Oh, I'll say that this goes slightly against your thing because they did average basically 5 yards a carry and had 2 rushing touchdowns. So they're able to run the ball all right. It's just, Jaden Daniels goes down. You have Marcus Mariota, who didn't do too well whatsoever. He had, 4 of 10, 63 yards and an interception against a terrible defense. I just think that, ultimately, what are you going to do down your number 1 running back, your number 1 wide receiver, your number 2 wide receiver, and your number 1 tight end is about, as ancient as the Roman Empire.
Their leading rusher was Daniels with 8 carries for 35 yards.
Right, but they also had 13 yards from their starting running back. Mariota had a nice 25-yard run in there. You have another running back who had 2 carries for 22 yards. You had another running back, 3 carries, 12 yards. They have a lot of depth.
The Cowboys are much better against the run this game than they have been, and the Commanders are one of the top running teams.
Well, that's largely due to Jaden Daniels. That's why. All right,
okay.
So the next one.
Moving right along here, McCaffrey goes for over 201 yards in a win over Atlanta. The Falcons are inconsistent and, in my mind, not for real. A banged-up 49ers defense stopping Bijan Robinson, and the Falcons' offense was a big deal. And Robinson, 14 carries, 40 yards. McCaffrey, 200 yards from scrimmage and 2 TDs. Along with the 49ers defense was the difference in this game, in my mind. Mac Jones came a little bit back to earth, 17 for 26, 152 yards, no touchdowns and interceptions. The 49ers have won 4 or 5 in his starts, though. I think it makes it hard to take him off the field. The Falcons only had 10 men on the field late in the game when Jones hit McCaffrey for 17 yards on 3rd and 14 that went to the 4-yard line, and on the next play, McCaffrey scored to make it 20-10, and that's inexcusable. They talked to Raheem Morris after the game about that. He said, "We'll fix that." 10 players on the field in a game that's this close, and that really and to give up that play, 17 yards, on 3rd and 14. Come on. Can't let that happen. Penix 21 to 38, 241, 1 touchdown. And again, Robinson only 14 carries for 40 yards. That was really, I think, the big difference in this game.
Well, I think that, Mac Jones, he plays within a system. It's Kyle Shanahan's system. So the one thing I will say is I'm very nervous. You cannot have Christian McCaffrey coming off double, the tendonitis or whatever he had in his legs last year. You can't have him touching the ball 31 times. Again, you won, you beat a great defense in the Falcons. You can't have that consistently. And I will say it looks like, because apparently, according to the reports, Brock Purdy, if he leans the wrong way, he'll re-aggravate the turf toe. So they're probably going to send Mac Jones out there next week.
I'm not surprised.
So we'll see. We'll see. They do play the Houston Texans at Texans, who do have a very good defense. They looked a little poor.
I like the
against
49ers in that game
Interesting.
after watching the Texans in the game last night.
Well, let me quickly check before we get to the next one. I'm just curious. Texans 56.5% chance to win, and the Texans are favored by 1.5. So I'm assuming you're going to take the 49ers upset.
I am.
Hey, Mac Jones playing very effective again. He had a 62 QBR, which is actually it's slightly below his pass rating, which is interesting. That interception wasn't his fault though. It was juggled, bobbled in the hand. It was Juwan Jennings really dropping the pass. So
I think Mac Jones has redeemed himself, and we have a good chance at a big contract next year. It'd be interesting to see how long they keep Brock Purdy out. I would say as long as Jones is winning, why not? Correct. Why not let Brock Purdy recover 100%? You have no reason to rush him back in there. Right. If Jones is winning 4 out of every 5 games.
Right, and you spent a bunch of money on him. You just gave him a big-time deal.
Particularly if he wins this game next week against the Texans, who
if he has another upset,
they have a good defense. Their offense, to me, their offensive line's a problem. C.J. Stroud, to me, is regressed from his rookie season.
Oh, massively.
He was poor last year in his sophomore year. Maybe he's rebounded a little bit. He's under pressure a lot. He doesn't really deal with the pressure all that well. They only scored 1 touchdown last night. The first one was at 2 minutes left in the game. The other touchdown came from the defense. So
well, I'll say this.
They got nothing going on offense.
I will give props. The 49ers defense being down Fred Warner and sort of falling apart a little bit against the Bucs, to have a rebound game and just dominate against the Falcons.
Robert Saleh.
I think Robert Saleh. I mean, George Kittle said in the postgame, Robert Saleh and Mac Jones are right now their top 2 guys of why they're winning football games. So, hey, I'll give a lot of credit where credit's due. 49ers played
moving along, our last game here. The Bucs 9, the Lions 24. The Lions rebound to beat the Bucs. Gibbs 218 yards from scrimmage. Rare off night for Mayfield as the Lions defense excelled. With Goff and Gibbs playing well, the offense and a win were propelled. Gibbs, career high, 218 yards from scrimmage. Goff, 20 of 29, 241 and a TD. The Lions outgained the Bucs by 200 yards in the first half, but led only by 14-3 because of an interception, a fumble, a turnover on downs, and a missed field goal. Mayfield, 28 of 50, 228, 1 touchdown, 1 interception against a shorthanded Lions defense. The Bucs had no running game. That's the theme all through this week. No running game, no win. The Lions have won 5 straight on Monday Night Football. I mentioned the stats here. I would say Gibbs was 17 rushes, 136 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Nice night.
8 yards a carry, which is incredible. But this is Dan Campbell. This is culture. This is how you rebound from a really disgusting performance against the Chiefs to will your team going against a very red-hot team led by Baker Mayfield. I mean, 28 of 50. He was under duress all night, threw a really bad pick, 4 sacks on the day, shutting down any ounce of a running game that the Bucs tried to.
The Bucs have
Mike
a lot
Evans,
of injuries.
Unfortunately, is probably going to be out for a majority of the year, so that ruins his.
Evans got hurt again.
Yeah, he broken collarbone and also a concussion. He'll be out most of the year now, so his streak of 1,000 yards that comes to a big time halt. My guess is he's going to retire. There was already retirement talk. He's probably done at the end.
They
of this
don't really
year.
need him.
Right? No, they've been playing up.
Jigba.
Well, no. Ibuka.
Ibuka.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. No, it's all about culture. Lions, again, haven't lost back-to-back games since 2022. They're a very, very well brought together team. GM's great. Ownership is great. Dan Campbell's phenomenal. I don't think You've made jokes of Dan Campbell, but I don't think you ever were down on him.
No, I have a lot of respect for Dan Campbell.
I've always been very high on him.
He's a culture builder.
Correct.
He's a true head coach.
Right.
He really is a true head coach.
Right.
A culture builder, a risk taker.
Yeah.
His players, he got his players to buy in.
True. And I'll also say,
he's brought along an offensive coordinator, a brand new offensive coordinator, a brand new defensive coordinator, almost seamlessly.
Right.
Only their first game of the year was an adjustment game.
I will say he did go into the 2015 Miami Dolphins. He was a coach there. He replaced Joe Philbin after week 4. He went 5-7 with the Dolphins team. So, I think you could look at that and say, okay, well, yeah, the first year with the Lions, it's the Lions.
It's pretty bad.
It's the Lions. There is some
He was crying
grace
at the podium a couple
times. Right. And then think about it, though. They tripled their wins the following year and really haven't looked back. And that first year after going 3-13-1, they shut the Packers out from making the playoffs after beating them in week 18. I believe it was in Lambeau, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So this is a Dan Campbell-led team. The Lions look legit. The only thing is, I really think if you just put storylines, put fandom aside and just look at storylines, how can you not root for the Lions to win under Dan Campbell? Unless the Lions just bottom out and have consecutive years of just 4 wins, 3 wins, whatever. Why Dan Campbell should be the coach for 10 more years?
Oh, yeah. He will be, I think.
Because I think he fits Detroit perfectly.
He
was a tight end for them, too.
I think he's perfect head coach for them.
Dan Campbell right now is my favorite
I root
head coach.
for them. I would love to see them come out of the NFC and get to the Super Bowl. I'd love to see it. It's going to be tough.
They got close last year.
But I'd love to see them get there.
I will say, if we remember 2 years ago, up 17 against the 49ers. They choked in the second half. There were some bad calls,
and they got beat by
plays.
Washington.
They got obliterated by Washington, yeah. So they had their opportunities. They got very close in the NFC Championship game a couple years ago. They just couldn't pull through. And this year, Jared Goff hasn't looked the same.
No, third time never fails.
He's dinking and dunking a little bit too much for my taste.
I think Jared Goff's having a great season. I think he's doing well.
He's being effective.
His percentage is high.
Correct.
They have an excellent running game. They're playing to their strengths.
And the one thing I will say is,
and their defense. They give them credit. Last night, the whole secondary was backups.
Yeah, they're down to their third or fourth string defensive backs. Aleem McNeil, first game back off IR. He had a really good game. This one, people were questioning. We were questioning Jahmyr Gibbs, pick 12 or whatever he got first round. He's been incredible. Jack Campbell, linebacker. Do they need linebacker? They need defensive back. Oh, no, Jack Campbell's great. I think right now the Lions really haven't missed. And that's the interesting thing. They really haven't missed on anybody. Terry and Arnold, penalty issues, health, get him healthy. That's what this team needs. This team just needs health. They were down 22 guys at one point on IR last year. They just need to get healthy, and I think this team will be a serious threat. But until then, they'll have these games where they ebb and flow. Chiefs game, defense wasn't great. Offense really was playing a very weird style offense. I still don't understand, but hey. I love the Detroit Lions. They're my favorite team in the NFC by far. Yeah. So I'm hoping they can go far.
I think I agree with you on that.
One
more comment.
Sure.
Tomorrow's Nate's birthday. Happy birthday to you, Nate.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure doing the show with you.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
We're moving on to 4 years of this, which is crazy, in a couple months from now. 4 years of doing the show. It's been a pleasure.
We appreciate everybody who watches and tunes in.
One of our this show, I'm looking at the numbers, one of our biggest shows to date. One of our biggest shows.
Wow.
101 viewers over the course of the show. So thanks so much for the constant support, as always.
Thank you.
But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, that about wraps it up. That's your weekly report, Week 7. Great topic that we do here on Tuesday. But stay tuned. Let's do a Thursday night pick. We didn't do it as a solo topic, but we might as well make our picks here. Thursday night football. Oh, here we go. This is an interesting one. Minnesota Vikings. Carson Wentz is starting a quarterback again, playing up against the Los Angeles Chargers. I believe the Chargers are favored in this game.
At the Chargers, right? It's at Chargers.
At Chargers. Chargers favored by 3.5. And also, based on ESPN analytics, 61% chance to win this game. Who do you got? Who to cover?
I am taking the Chargers in this game, and that they will cover the game. They will cover the 3-point spread.
I'll take Vikings cover. I do think this is a field goal game. Give me the Chargers win, though. This spread has moved. It opened to 2.5 and moved to 3.5. So
the way the Chargers pass the ball.
420 yards.
They got to get a little bit of a running game going. That's the problem. They got to get something going on the running game.
True.
They have to be able to protect Herbert too.
I will also say, just very, very briefly, NBA season started today. We're about half an hour into the first NBA game. Rockets at Thunder. Rockets are fair. Good. I have Rockets plus 6.5, and they're winning right now. I'm going to throw it out here. If the Knicks don't win the East, they're not winning a championship anytime soon. They're too expensive. They have Mike Brown, who I like, because it was a weird thing he got fired. But if they don't win the East, with the Celtics losing Jason Tatum, the Magic are a true threat. The 76ers are never healthy. The Cavs, are they going to be the same? Milwaukee.
It could be.
Giannis wants to be out of there, so
I don't know.
Miles Turner as well.
You look at the competition. I guess the Cavaliers and the Knicks are the competition.
If the Knicks don't win the East, when are they going to do anything? Like, when are they going to make the finals? By the way,
they may regret firing their head coach. We'll wait and see. Mike Brown is a total offensive guy.
Well, supposedly in one of their preseason games, they had no plays. They kind of just played backyard basketball.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, that wraps up today's show. But thanks so much for watching. Thank you for the constant support as always. My name is Nathan Harvey. Thank you, Dad. My name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We have been your host of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Friday. We got Week 8. Midway through the season is already here almost. We're 2 weeks away from that. I think we're going to do some fun for Tuesday's show entering Week 9. We're probably going to do our new standings predictions. We should do that midway through the year.
We need to pick our quarterbacks at some point. Who are the leading quarterbacks?
Oh, yeah. No, we should do that, top too. 10 list. That's a good one. We'll do that on a Tuesday show, I'm sure. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's what I say. We'll see you Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Good night, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.